everybody and welcome back to a new video on my booktube channel, Books with Leo. So today I have a wonderful video for you guys, and this video is inspired by an idea by Beth from Books Nest. I absolutely love Beth and her content. She's so creative and I love the way she always puts her spin on things and then incorporates it into her video. So definitely check out her channel. I will put it in the description, and also if I don't forget I'll link it on top here. I saw this video that she did called The Stories Behind the Books, and she was basically recommending books and talking about the period of her life she read them in and the memories attached to them, and she did like a little story time with every book. And her video really reminded me of how a period in your life and like the things you went through during that time and the things you learned, the places you went, maybe like the holidays you were on or the location you were in at the time, the people that were important to you at the time, how that really sticks to the book. So like when you read that book again, everything about that period of your life sort of comes flashing back to you, and it is so weird but it's so interesting, and it's one of my favorite things about reading, that you sort of encapture that moment of your life within the story almost, like it becomes attached to that specific story. I'm not sure if other people have this too, but I think they do, and it's just something that's really special and beautiful to me. So I thought today I will be talking about some books that really have sort of captured this one specific moment of my life. I felt a little bit conflicted because I was like, a lot of these are not necessarily books I'd pick up right now. Well, one mostly. We'll get to that. It's also a book I've on hold, but I still have it. Like, I have put it out of my shelves, but it's still lying somewhere around my house. If you're looking like for really flashy new recommendations, something you've never seen on BookTube or you've never heard me talk about, this is not the video. But if you just want to hear some fun things and memories that are attached to books, then this is the video. So without any further ado, let's just get into it. The first book I wanted to start with is One of Us is Lying by Karen and McManus. A lot of people have actually recently recommended this book to me in my comments, even though I've read it already like 3 years ago. That's okay, you can't know everything I've possibly read. Totally fine. When I read this book, I was working in Amsterdam, and I love Amsterdam. It's a beautiful, beautiful city, but it's so hectic and there's so many things going on. And I live in the second biggest city of the Netherlands. Is it actually the second biggest city? I think it is. Anyway, I live in Rotterdam, and Rotterdam is a lot more modern and a lot more, it's very different. Like, a lot of people say it's not Dutch, it's like un-Dutch because of all the skyscrapers and stuff. But it is Dutch, definitely, in its own way. One thing I do really love about Amsterdam are all the bookstores. Amsterdam has some of the most beautiful bookstores, in my opinion. Some of my favourites are Scheltema, obviously. I also love the American Book Centre. I know it's like a little bit of a touristy place to go for books, but I love it. And there's also this one really tiny bookstore. It's more like off the side of the centre, and it's got like this bow of books, and you can like walk underneath it, and it's got like little windows filled with books. Really adorable. I'm not sure what it's called anymore. I forgot. When I was doing my internship, when I was working in Amsterdam, I had to go to Amsterdam by train every day. And during that period, I read a lot of books on the train because I had to do a lot of training. I had to do a lot of travelling by train. And during that period, I read One of Us is Lying because that day I had not brought a book to work. And I was like, God, now I have nothing to read on my train ride back home. So when I got out of work, I just chipped into this little bookstore and I picked up this book because I thought it looked lovely. And I was also on such a big mission to visit every single bookstore in Amsterdam at the time. I was like, I want to visit all of them. I'm here for now. I want to travel and see every different bookstore that Amsterdam has to offer. So I visited a lot of bookstores during that time, and it was so lovely. And like wandering through Amsterdam bookstores on my own after work, before work, such a good time. I can't wait to visit bookstores again. This book is sort of, it reminds me a little bit of The Breakfast Club, but then there's murder involved. So it's basically a couple of sort of stereotypical high schoolers. It says here, a geek, a jock, a criminal, a princess, a murder. So all these different types of people are together in detention. And then one of them dies during detention, and then during the book you sort of figure out who killed them, what happened. So it's sort of a whodunit mixed with The Breakfast Club, so that's really cool. I thought it was a little bit predictable, like halfway through I saw it coming, but I still really enjoyed it, and it's really reminding me of that time when I was working in Amsterdam. So that's the first one. The second book I wanted to talk about is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this book I read when I wasn't living in Rotterdam for that long yet. So I moved here when I was 19, and then I just had a room, and now I have an apartment, which is so wonderful, and I'm really, really grateful. But at that time I just had a room, but I did live really, really close to Kralingse Plas, which is a really big lake. Is it a lake? I don't know. Anyway, it's a place with water. God. I speak English, yes. It's a place where a lot of people go to swim during the summer, and I saw some people ice skating on there actually recently because now it's freezing here. I used to cycle there a lot of times during the summer, and then I just sat there by the lake. I read a lot of books there, I did a lot of swimming, I hung out there with friends as well, and we like ordered pizza to the lake, you know, had a lot of fun. It was really great, and some of the best summers were spent by that lake. I don't live as close to the lake anymore, unfortunately, but I still go there sometimes. This book was one I read when I was just living there, and I sat by the lake in one afternoon and I read the entire book, like back to front, in one afternoon. I had such a good time. So this book was also gifted to me by my friend Sabine. Love you, Sabine. She's also on BookTube, so definitely check her out. So this book has a lot of different special memories attached to me for it, like those afternoons spent by the lake with friends, swimming, just chatting along, you know, having a great time. But also it's from my friend and I love her, and yeah, it's just really great. Oh, this is such a mushy video. God. This book is about Xiomara, and she is a poet, and she's so wonderful. This whole book is written in verse as well, so it's sort of poetry but fiction, I guess. And her parents and her surroundings want really different things from her, and also people that don't know her see her in a really different light than she actually is, and she gets more into slam poetry in this book. It's also really coming of age, where she's discovering herself and her love and boys, and you know, she's dealing with friendships and the church and different expectations, and it's just a really, really beautiful novel. It says on the back, a novel about first love and finding your own voice. So true. And I think Elizabeth Acevedo has such a big talent for words and writing in general, and the prose, the poetry in this book, really, really beautiful. I think this is one of the best YA novels I've read in recent years, and I really, really enjoyed it. So definitely a book I would recommend if you want to get more into poetry. This is also a good place to start because it is a fictional novel, but it's also poetry. So from there on out, you can sort of ease into poetry, I'd say. Not that I read loads of poetry. I also really want to read her other novel in verse, which is called Clap When You Land. So that's definitely also in my TBR. Okay, the third book I want to talk about is also a book that I read during summer and that has a lot of summer memories attached to it. So my dad built me these really, really nice benches to sit on outside on my balcony. I know it's a little bit silly, but those benches just sort of remind me of that specific summer, and I was reading this book while sat on those benches, and like those benches also mean a lot to me because my dad made them for me, and I was having a little bit of a hard time back then. I was also going through a breakup. Then I came home and my dad built me these benches, and then I cried because I was just so happy, and so I felt so loved, you know. That's also when I read this book, and so this book sort of reminds me of that bittersweet summer and also the love I feel for my family building me benches. God, I sound so dense right now. Anyway, this book is a really nice fluffy romance read that has some more deeper themes like sort of lying underneath here and there. The film is also really lovely. I watched the film with my friend Brit, who's also living in Rotterdam, and I think that's maybe also why I cherish this book extra more, even though Brit and I watched it years after I read the book. It's about Rachel Chu, and she has a new boyfriend, and then he invites her to meet his family in Singapore, but when she arrives there, she finds out he's really, really crazy rich, and then she gets thrown into this world filled with really, really uptight mothers and mean people and crazy rich Asians, which is what the book is called as well. This is just a really lovely read for summer where you want something you don't have to think too hard about, but also something that is really, really filled with beautiful prose and is really nice to just pace through and enjoy and have a good time. So this is definitely a book I would recommend still. And yeah, it also has those lovely memories attached to it for me. Okay, the next book is a book I have not read in years and I will also never pick up again. I'm thinking of gifting it to a friend of mine, a family friend. This is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and I read this I think in 2017 when I was getting into reading again after not reading for a really long time. When I went to art school, I started really getting into more watching films and painting movies. What am I saying? I started getting more into film and I started reading less, which is really unfortunate. I was a film major in art school, but I do mostly illustration now, don't ask. This is one of the first books I read when I got back into reading, and I took this on the plane with me when I went to Iceland, which was a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I remember starting it on the plane, and then when we landed and we went in like a cab to our little cabin, I just couldn't stop reading. I was so interested in this book, and I wanted to watch the views as well, because Iceland is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But just the atmosphere of Iceland covered in snow, almost a constant sunrise/sunset, because the sun rises so late and it sets so early, so it was like a constant twilight, all pink, and then it was reflecting on all the white of the snow, and it was just so beautiful. And I remember being so into this book, and like it all sort of blends together with the beautiful landscape and the beautiful journey we made. This book will just forever remind me of that, I guess. I've got no clue what this is about. I know it's about mare, I think that's how you pronounce it. There's like silvers and reds, and silvers have powers and rats don't, and like silvers are elite, and then there's war and an army, and she gets into a palace and she has like this secret gift, all these things. It's a really classic YA. I think there's maybe even a love triangle. Anyway, this was really something I loved at the time, and I will always cherish it for that. Another book I read during summer and I immensely enjoyed at the time, and I really, really want to reread and then read the whole series because I still haven't, and that book is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I rarely talk about this book, but I loved it. I adored it with all my heart. Like, this group of boys and blue, so beautiful. I didn't pick it up until the summer, and during the summer I was at this festival, and they also had this sort of mini beach where you could sit and read. And so when me and my sister were sort of done with going to concerts and wobbling around this festival, we just sat down at that mini lake reading, sat on the beach afternoons on end, because this was a long festival. And I remember her even going to some shows in between and like drinking beer and stuff, and I was just sat on the beach reading this book because I was so into it. So very typical me. Goes to a music festival, reads a book. What can I tell you? I love reading. Anyway, this was such a nice break from all the chaos of the festival, even though I really enjoyed the festival. When will we be able to go to festivals again? I don't know. I hope soon. So all those memories are really attached to this. And I remember also some people sat on that beach saying stuff to me like, "Are you reading right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is a really great book. Do you want to know what it's about? I will tell you." So yeah, definitely an experience. So I don't know how well I'll be able to explain this, but it's basically about Blue, and she's from this sort of clairvoyant family. All of her family has those abilities, I think, except for her actually, which is kind of sad. And then there's these boys who come from the local private school, and they're looking for this old Welsh king and sort of magical powers attached to that, and then Blue sort of teams up with them and they do it together. I guess that's the best way I could explain it. It's really vague, and there's a lot of Latin and sort of themes such as that. It's paranormal, it's romantic, it's full of adventure, it's full of witty jokes and banter in between the characters. And the characters are so well fleshed out and so lovable, which is one of my favourite things in books, when there's just this group of close friends and characters. So it's a reoccurring theme on this channel. This is definitely a book with a lot of lovely summer memories attached to it, and also a book I really enjoyed. We've arrived at the last book on this list already, and that is the Magisterium, the Iron Test. I'm not sure if it's called the Iron Test in English, but it's called the IJzerproef in Dutch. So I'm just translating on the spot here. And this is by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare, and this is also the only Cassandra Clare book to date that I've really enjoyed in recent years. When I was younger, I loved the Mortal Instruments series, but when I got older and I tried to reread it, I really did not like it. But this I did like. This is a really magical middle grade story with a lot of humour, and it is about these kids that go to a magic school which is underground and has lots of magic. Callum Hunt has been warned for magic his whole life, and when he gets called to do the iron test to get into the magic school, his dad is like, no, but he goes and does it anyway, even though he doesn't want to get in. But then he does get in, and he uncovers all sorts of secrets having to do with him and his dad and their history and the war that went on years earlier, and yeah, lots of stuff. This book is really, really special to me because I remember reading this series when I was trying to get my driver's license, and it was a struggle for me. I was in a car accident, and I've been really scared of driving ever since. I was already a little bit skittish and a little bit scared before, but after that I didn't really want to get my driver's license, and whenever it came up I'd just cry, and it was a struggle, and it was something that was really, really difficult for me. And so on one hand I had sort of given up. I didn't want to get my driver's license. I was too scared, it was too hard, but my parents really wanted me to get it, and I think they just also wanted that freedom for me and that ability and that I would overcome it, which I really understand and I love them dearly. I started driver's lessons. The woman that taught me to drive a car, she's so wonderful. I still have so much love for her in my heart. Nora, if you're watching this, she really went through it with me. Like, we stopped the car when I was crying or having a panic attack, and she was really there for me. She was so patient with me. And during that period, I was reading this series, and then she thought I was ready to go up for my driver's license for the first time. And when I went to drive, my mom drove me to the test, because you don't have like a practice license in the Netherlands. You just practice in like a teaching car, and then you also do exams in a teaching car when they have like double pedals, so the examinators can also sort of brake for you and stuff like that. When we drove to the centre for me to get tested for my driver's license, I was reading this book, and I didn't pass the first time. It took me, I think, 3 times, but still, this book really holds those memories to it for me of like overcoming a fear and doing something that was really, really scary and still doing it and going for it, and also being supported by my lovely family, my parents and my sister and my friends at the time. So yeah, this really has that attached to it, and I will always be grateful for all those lovely people in my life and for helping me through difficult periods of my life. So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed hearing me talk about all these books that hold special places in my heart and special memories attached to them. And definitely let me know if you have some reads on your shelves as well that really have special moments and memories and people attached to those specific reads. I'd love to hear. And thank you, Beth, for inspiring this video. Definitely don't forget to check out her channel, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys!